welcome to another edition of the House Whisperer Show on WWDB Talk 860. Stay tuned for expert advice about maintaining your house from the roof to the basement, featuring the guy who knows all about it and tells us that every house has a story, and he knows all those inside stories, and sometimes he shares them with us. Professional Home Inspector Jack Milne. Jack, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Barry. You know, I don't know where this summer went.
I don't know. I have no idea. It just disappeared.
It seems to be the shortest season, if I may, of the year. We always think of Memorial Day as the start of the summer and Labor Day as the end of summer. But, you know, fall really doesn't technically kick in until October. But,
yeah.
And that's what I want to talk about today. I mean, you know, although the start of fall is a month out, Labor Day and summer, school starts, everyone is in a bit of a panic. Buses are going to start rolling through the neighborhood if they haven't already. And you know those 15-mile-an-hour signs are aglow, and now it's time to look reluctantly to the future of what I call earlier, darker nights and colder weather. So my topic is called Labor Day is Here, the transition to fall is now. So before we kick in, let's thank the sponsors, because without them I wouldn't be able to chat with you today. Burrow Exterminating from Glen Olden, Pennsylvania. They do termite as well as radon testing, and their phone number is 610-586-5640. Website, burrowexterminating.com. Bucksmont Inspections. I was working with Rob this past week, evaluating an on-site sewage system along with him and the client. 215-669-4213, and bucksmontinspections.com is the website. Pest Blaster. We work all the time with these folks. They do radon testing, mold testing, wood-destroying insect inspections, as well as pest removal. And I think in another week or so, I'm going to have Jim Pelletore on the phone, and we want to talk about pests, because as it gets colder, they want to come in. So their phone number is 215-295-5555, and their website is pestblaster.com. Brainflushgear.com, as I mentioned a week or so ago, they're going international. They have a group in Germany, actually, who is looking to buy some of their stuff. So that's pretty cool. And, again, it doesn't get any easier than brainflushgear.com. Tri-County Inspection Company, of course, is the company I've been running since 1985. A week or so ago, you heard a little bit of what I call the Wayback Machine as far as how Tri-County and I got together and started as a small company. But now we serve 15 counties, actually, and I'll just give you a couple of numbers, 215-295-2030. In the Lehigh Valley, 610-346-7880. And if you're in South Jersey, 856-853-4224. And you can always visit our website at tcinspect.com. So as I always ask folks, if you're going to use my sponsors, please let them know that you heard their ad on the House Whisperer Show. So as you all know, I like to visit the email box, and I really do like this aspect of the show. And it just tells me that people are listening and responding. So I heard from Gail from Lindenwold, New Jersey. Jack, a quick question. Our house is up for sale. We have an interested buyer, and our home was built in the 1980s. Their inspector looked under our deck and saw that the metal hangers that hold the joist but did not see any bolts. On his report, he listed the lack of bolts as a defect. What do you think? Well, Gail, I have to agree with the inspector, as a nail through a ledger board that supports all your joists will lose about half of their mass within 5 to 7 years. And that's all really depending on the quality of the nail that the contractor used. And ultimately, this could lead to deck failure, and people may get injured. Today, all decks need to be anchored and mechanically fastened to the home with either lag screws or bolts. And almost now every joist cell. So for a few $100s, a contractor or a carpenter can easily, complete this task, and it's well worth it. This way, your buyer can buy the house and you can move on. And this, to me, is a simple problem that can be easily fixed. So for all listeners, do me a favor and look under your deck. And if you do not see hex head bolts or washers, please follow the same advice that the inspector and I gave Gail. and get it done. And this way, none of your family or friends get hurt. So, Gail, thanks for the comment, because I think we all need to look into that. So, please, folks, any questions, please email me at thehousewhisperershow@gmail.com or visit previous shows at thehousewhisperershow.com. And as always, podcasts are available at www.dbam.com. So today's topic, Labor Day is here. The transition to fall is now. So a few things that I've noticed over the last few weeks are the following: cooler nights. Darkness again has come into our lives about 7:30. Mist on the ground is being found in the mornings, and the weather is fantastic. So I wanted to dedicate this show to a few things that you should really think about before the weather really turns. And now, honestly, is a great time for fall planting. The heat of the summer is over. Plants that are in the ground now will survive through the winter and will be more robust come spring. So at my house, within the next several weeks, I'm pulling out 40-year-old 15-foot arborvitaes that took a serious hit over the last 2 winters, and it's time for replacement. The trees are on order. The backhoe is reserved. A mess will be made at the end of the day, but the results will be awesome. And what about gutter guards? If you live amongst the trees, you know that the leaves are going to fall in October, but why not get prepared now? Leaf-for-leaf gutter guards can be installed by a professional in about a half a day. And believe me, folks, I've tried them all. I've tried the waterfall gutter guards, which I did have on my home for probably about 15 years. They work reasonably well. I still had to flush them out in the spring and the fall. The mesh looks like kind of black styrofoam, holds the debris, doesn't really work too well. What I call the X-pattern vinyl that you can buy at your hardware stores and your box stores. It has a bit of a screening to it, but it doesn't hold onto the gutter very well. And, of course, what I call the galvanized half-rounds. Those actually clip onto the lip of the gutter, but a lot of times, especially doing home inspections, I find more of them in the garden than on your roof. And one thing about galvanized products, folks, it will rust and can actually stain your gutters. So leaf for leaf, as that is the brand name, gets fastened to the lip of your aluminum K or box-style gutter and has holes small enough for rain, but not let the debris in. So my suggestion is be prepared, and I always say, do it once and do it right. Now, if your gutters are in poor shape and leak at all the joints, for about $5 to $6 a foot, new gutters can be installed. And if you have very long runs of gutter, like my house is a 2-story colonial, and some of my gutter runs are over 40 feet, what I do is I install downspouts at each corner. So now I'm actually going to share the load of water off the roof and not blast a particular downspout and gutter down below. But consider commercial, what we call 5-inch K gutters, as they will collect more water and drain more quickly. Residential gutters are 4 inches in width. Residential downspouts are 2 inches by 3 inches, and commercial downspouts are 3 inches by 4 inches. So the whole moral of the story here is to get the water off your roof and get it well away from your foundation. I tell my clients to extend their downspouts at least 3 to 5 feet away from the foundation, so there's no risk of bringing water back to your foundation wall, making things damp inside. So, changing topics, how about driveway sealing? Now's the time. Cooler nights and days will allow the sealer to set up in about 24 hours. I do suggest that you mop it out, and you want to seal all cracks well, and then sit back and enjoy your result. You're probably going to discard your shoes upon completion, and as the rule says, order 10% more than you need and take back what you don't use. Another thing, evaluate your roof. Today's shingles last between 20 and 25 years. If you're noticing a lot of curled shingles or if you're finding shingle tabs in your gardens, personally, I'd be replacing it now. Several warm days in a row will allow them to seal but I would suggest you try to do it before November. After that, it may be a little bit too late, and with some of the winters we've having, you may get some shingle blow-off. So really take a look at your roof now. Later on, probably in another show, I'm going to talk about low-sloped roofs. Gravity. Gravity is a wonderful thing. It brings down the leaves and branches. So look and review your trees as they cross over your home or some of your utilities. That 100-amp overhead service between and or under that heavy tree branch may bring it down this winter. So if you need to, I would suggest that you contact your local utility company or maybe a tree specialist to cut those branches back. As you know, again, with these past few winters, the weight of ice and snow does have the potential of tearing your service off the wall, and then you're going to be without power, or worse, have a live service on the ground that can be, extremely hazardous to your health, and not only you but your children. So, speaking of which, how many of you lost power last winter or the year before? And what I have found, the generator prices have started to come down over the past year or so. And although you might have to give consideration of spending like $8,000 to $10,000 now to prevent possible power outages, you have to realize that this is going to become more consistent and prevalent. And if you live in the country and count on your well and septic to work every day, a generator will help sustain your home.
I'll tell you what, Jack, let me just break in here because we're going to take a little commercial break, and we'll come right back right after this.
Sounds good. Hang on, folks.
Okay, you're listening to the House Whisperer Show with Jack Milne at WWDB.
Boro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years. Serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperer Show.
As the temperatures gradually rise, so do the odds of all those filthy and unwanted critters invading your home like rodents, roaches, termites, and flies. Oh my! This summer, if you want to feel safe and secure from a possible creeping, crawling disaster, do yourself a favor and call the exterminating experts at Pest Blaster for all your pest control needs, including tests for radon and mold. Please visit pestblaster.com and you'll be sold. 215-295-5555.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 25 years. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They've performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. For all of your real estate transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. In PA, call 215-295-2030. In New Jersey, 856-853-4224.
And we're back with Jack Milne, the House Whisperer. He's got a great topic today in anticipation of fall, Labor Day, and all those things that come with it. Jack, welcome back on the air after the break.
Well, thank you, Barry. And the purpose of this show, folks, is I want to start to get you thinking about what's coming. And what I like about living in this part of the country is we do get all four seasons. I know we had an extremely long winter last year, and it's what seemed to be a spring of about 3 weeks. And then summer kicked in. But before you know it, daylight savings time is going to be upon us. Winter projects are going to start to mount up. And that's what I want to kick into next, is winter projects. So I'm hoping that you have your contractors working up estimates now, because contractors want to work inside through the harshest part of the winter to keep them and their crews working. So if you plan to finish your basement, my suggestion, folks, is test it for radon if you haven't had it tested already. As we tend to seal our lowest levels of our homes with metal studs, plastic, and drywall, as well as insulation, testing your home for radon runs about $125. And to install a system, if you find it's necessary, will run about $800 to $900. So the pipes, the fan, what we call the manometer, which is a gauge, can be installed behind your new walls now and can easily be monitored. And honestly, folks, it'll keep your family safe. So I have a simple theory. If you live in the valley, you'll probably have less chance of having radon than if you live on a mountain. I think of Mount Erie Road. I think of Hilltown. There's a lot of areas in our listening area, I guess is the best word I can think, that has a lot of rock, a lot of shale, and that's what causes the breakdown of uranium in soil, which produces radon. So if you're really thinking of finishing your basement, I would ask that you reach out to Borough at 610-586-5640 or Pest Blaster at 215-295-5555 to evaluate your home. What I like is that they are both test-only firms and can provide names of radon mitigation specialists if your house tests above what we call 4.0 picocuries per liter. Other fall projects that come to mind are windows. It may be getting cold, but I would suggest that you order your windows now. They will be ready by October. They can be installed, and literally the contractors can close off the room if it's a bedroom or a living room, and then you can start saving money on those utility bills, but you kind of have to act now. So replacement windows can run anywhere between $300 and $500 for a standard double-hung window, depending on its size. Angle bay windows, bow windows are going to cost you more because the opening is bigger. And don't forget about sliding glass doors. Anyone who's got an aluminum sliding glass door, honestly, folks, I don't have a better word but the four-letter word of junk, okay? So it's going to be cold, it's going to be drafty. To replace that door may run you, depending on the quality you choose, anywhere from about $1,200 to $2,500. But there's nothing better than sitting next to a sliding glass door and not feeling the drafts or blowing the candles out. So it tends to be the biggest leaker in our homes, and personally I would probably do the door before I would do the windows. And as even I tell my clients every day when when I find a dated window, is you don't have to buy them all at once. What you do want to do is have the contractor measure once. And then like I did the front of my house at one point, I did the back of my house at a second point, and then the third was finally my finish where I did my side windows in the garage. So as long as the contractor has the measurements, well, then you can order them at will. So please give that one some serious consideration. And I think the next item is just as important, and that's insulation. And you want to insulate now because during the summer months, homeowners actually do pay more, and I call it battle pay for insulators. So September and October are really the best months to insulate before you have to raise your thermostat. And in most cases, you're looking at a 2-year payback for your investment. And there's nothing better than that. And what I like about insulation is that the day you put it in, you're going to feel the difference that night with either cooler temperatures in your home or warmer temperatures because your thermostat is not telling your furnace or your boiler to kick on is off. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, critters, mice, crickets, groundhogs, squirrels, opossums, that list can go on forever, folks. But one thing you want to do is check for holes under your deck or particularly the shed. I think sheds are very popular for these critters because you don't spend a whole lot of time at the shed. It tends to be at the back part of the property. And you may want to even think about putting some lattice, between the base of the shed and the earth, just to try to keep the critters out. We all know about rabbits and squirrels. I think they tend to be our friends, but squirrels to me are another fancy name for tree rats because they climb the trees, and they can also get on your roof, they can get in your gutters, and they can burrow their way into your attic. So if you're hearing any chatter over your roof, over your ceilings when you're laying down and the house is quiet, you may want to reach out to Pest Blaster and get them to set some traps. But the big critters are easy to see. It's the smaller ones or those nocturnal ones that you may not be paying real attention to. Mice are going to be looking for warmth at this time of year, and as I had Mike from Pest Blaster on earlier, all they need is the size of a pinky penetration to make their way in. So think of any penetrations through your house wall, be it the utilities, your air conditioning lines, etc. And again, all critters are going to be looking for shelter now. So again, my stress on this show is be prepared. But also keep in mind that home inspectors are also not critter specialists. So although home inspectors specialize in all facets of your home, our state laws are pretty clear, as well as to the standards of practice that we live by, that inspectors are not required to inspect or check for critters. So for this time of year, as the critters are looking to work their way into people's homes, be careful. And let's not let it be your home. I would suggest that you cut back any tree branches. Again, keep your gutters clear. Remove any ivy, and again, just be prepared. That's all I can stress on that. The other issue is check your soil level around your home. If the gutters are clogged, downspouts not extended, and grading flat or negative, water will and may enter your home. So you want to add topsoil, particularly with a clay mix if you get the opportunity, and add window wells as necessary, and add more topsoil against the house because your soil will settle when water's added. I kind of think of, as I tell my clients, I think of coffee. If you made the wrong decision in the morning and you need the high test, you put in the decaf, you can still empty the strainer before you add water. Once you add water, you're done. So, let's try to keep the basement drier this year. But at the same time, make sure that you don't put your soil above your siding finish. And if you have brickwork on the front of your home, today's masons are intentionally putting in what we call weep holes. So if there's any moisture behind the brick, this moisture, these little vents, actually will dissipate the moisture between the brick and your substrate. So don't put your dirt above those weep holes, as that can allow for the infestation of wood-destroying insects. Wow. And finally, if your sump pump worked overtime last year, you may want to add what we call a water-actuated sump pump backup system. It's about $500, which is about the same price actually as a battery backup sump pump. But what I like about water-actuated pumps is that you're not depending on a battery. So if you have not been filling the battery every 3 months with distilled water, chances are that battery, if you really, really need it, may not perform. And if it does, for how long? And that becomes the question. So these water-actuated sump pump backup systems will automatically kick on when you lose power, and it draws about a gallon of your public water to push a gallon of your sump pit water. So I intentionally said that slower because it uses a ventricular action, and they do work. The pumps themselves are about $175, and then by the time that the plumber gets it and installs it, that's why I tell my folks to budget about $500. What you do need is a 3/4-inch water line, and that can usually be keyed in by the plumber with a line run to your sump pit.
Hey, Jack, I have to break in here and tell you that the time is getting away from us once again.
Well, if I can say this in closing, Barry, for those of you who have a well, consider that generator I discussed earlier. So until next week when I discuss hot tubs, are they worth it, and what about the maintenance? I always say, please spend time with friends and family, and I'll see you next week on the House Whisperer Show.
All right, can't wait till next week. I want to hear about those hot tubs, and tune in again next week for another edition of the House Whisperer Show with professional home inspector Jack Milne. To listen to previous programs, or if you have any questions, you can visit thehousewhisperershow.com, and you can also go to www.dbam.com and listen to podcasts of previous House Whisperer shows. This is Barry Reisman. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll talk to you again next time. La, 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 la.